Thank you. Let me welcome you to MedZone African Motives. Let me welcome you to MedZone African Motives. We are on Economic and Management Science, grade 7. That is EMS grade 7. So that is term 3. We are on term 3 notes. Our topic is entrepreneurship. Our topic is what? Entrepreneurship. So, as the question says, what is an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneur? So it says a person with a business idea who then invests in organizing and runs a business that to sell that idea. So, meaning to say, an entrepreneur is a person with business idea who organizes and runs a business. So we are saying it's someone, we are saying is someone who has an idea, someone who has idea. We are saying someone who has an idea, someone who has an idea for a product or service, or a product or a service, and turns it into a business, and turns it into a business. So that's when you're talking about an entrepreneur. Someone who has an idea for a product or service and turns that idea into a business. So that's that. For example, we can say, Lerato noticed that many learners want healthy snacks. She started a small business, making fruit cups and selling them at school events. That's an entrepreneur. She is an entrepreneur because she notices that many learners want healthy snacks. So now she started a small business, trying by all means to sell those snacks. So also it says an entrepreneur is someone who combines three factors of production, such as capital, land, labor, such as capital, land, and labor. So you're saying someone who combines factors of production, someone who combines factors of production, those three factors of production. So it means he brings together land, labor, capital to produce goods and services. So that is that. He brings together these three. So we're saying entrepreneur is someone who brings this together. So that's what we are trying to say. He brings this together to produce goods and services. Hope we're together on that, good people. So meaning to say, when you're talking of the factor, we can talk of land. That's when you're talking about natural resources. For example, we can talk about where you rent a shop. That's land. Labor, you can talk about workers and their skills. You can talk of bankers, cashiers. Those are laborers. Then when you talk of capital, you talk about money, tools, or equipment that you're going to use. For example, if you're going to use the ovens, if you're going to use tables, if you're going to use chairs, so that is that. Hope we are together. So also it says an entrepreneur is a person who takes a risk of starting his or her own or borrowed capital. So that is that. We are saying is a person who takes risk of starting business. It's a person who takes risk of starting a business. So entrepreneurs use their own money or borrowed money. They use their own money or they use what? Borrowed money. They use their own money or borrowed money and accept the possibility that business might fail. And accept the possibility that business might fail. That is what we say is the person who takes the risk. That's why we're saying the person who takes the risk is because the entrepreneur accept that there is a possibility that the business might fail. So that is that. For example, if you talk about Lerato again, Lerato borrows 50,000 to open a car wash. If customers do not come, he may lose money. So if business succeeds, he earns profit. Hope we are together, good people. Hope we are together. So now let us move on to what is entrepreneurship now? Not entrepreneur. There is a difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. Because when you talk of entrepreneur, you're talking about the person, but entrepreneurship is the process. Hope we get that difference well. So it says now, factors of production is the inputs used to produce goods and services. They include labor, capital, land, as well as entrepreneurship, where we are now. Factors of production, they include those four, where the entrepreneurship is in there. So now it says the entrepreneurship is the skill needed to combine labor, natural resources, capital in the most effective way to take the risk of starting a business in order to make what? In order to make a profit. So we're saying we're talking about factors of production. So these are the resources used to produce goods and services. Because it says the entrepreneur is the skill needed to combine these factors of production. Labor, that is natural resources, that is when we're talking about land, and capital in a most effective way. So that is that in simple that we are saying these resources that we are talking about, they are used to produce goods and services. We are saying these resources, these are the resources used to produce goods and services. Goods and services. So that is that when you're saying these are resources. These are resources used to produce goods and services. So hope we get that very well. So you know the resources that we're talking about, good people. We are talking about labor. You know that is when you are talking about human effort. So when you talk of labor, you know we're talking about human effort and skills. Human effort and skills. That's labor. What about capital? Or let us be on natural resources, natural land. That is here we're talking about land. So land, that's when we are talking about the natural resources and space used. That's when we're talking about natural resources and space that is going to be used. Hope you understand with people. Then coming to capital as one of those resources that you're saying they are used to produce goods and services. A capital, that is a money. We're talking about money. We are talking about machinery. So that is that. We are talking about money, machinery, tools. We are talking about buildings and stuff. So, but when you talk of entrepreneurship, it simply says this is the ability to organize the other factors and take risk. That's what entrepreneurship means. That's what this entrepreneurship means. It means that ability. This means what? It means that this is what the ability to organize other factors and take risks and take risks. So that is that. Hope we are together to that. Because we know that, for example, to make a t-shirt, you need workers. That is labor. You need sewing machines. That is capital. You need workspace. That is land. And someone to organize everything. That is entrepreneurship. So I think everything's clear now. I think everything's clear now. We can now move on. So also it talks about the entrepreneur, or it talks about remuneration, that remuneration is the money you get from something. In this case, remuneration of an entrepreneur is profit. So the entrepreneur is paid by any a profit. That is that. So hope we are together, good people, and let us move on. Let us move on. So now we are on characteristics. We are going to be in characteristics. Characteristics of an entrepreneur. So we are asked to explain the following to learners, as it says, an entrepreneur is a person who risks their own money to start a business, hoping to make what more money if they continue to work for another person or organization. So that is that. So, in short, or in other ways, or in one sentence, an entrepreneur is a person who starts and runs a business by combining resources and taking risk, while entrepreneurship is the skill of gaining those resources effectively to earn profit. That is how we can make it easy. That is how we can make it easy as we are on characteristics of entrepreneurship. So we are saying entrepreneur is a person. We are saying, in short, when we talk of a entrepreneur, this entrepreneur is a person who starts a business and runs business by combining resources and taking risks. That is when you're talking about this a person, entrepreneur. Get me straight. This is the person who's going to start. Know for sure that when you talk of entrepreneur, you're talking about what? A person. We're talking about a person who starts and runs a business by combining resources. We did talk about resources. Talk of land, we talk of labor, we talk of capital, and taking risk. And entrepreneur is a risk taker. That is one of the characteristics of the entrepreneur. He takes moderate risk. But when you talk of entrepreneurship, so entrepreneurship now, we're talking about is the skill. Entrepreneurship is the skill of organizing those. Here we're talking about entrepreneurship. We are saying is the skill of organizing those resources that we have talked about effectively to earn profit. So hope you understand those two differences. So now let us be on characteristics of what? Of entrepreneur. So it says some characteristics of an entrepreneur, you can add it on the list. That is the risk-taking characteristics. So now let us be on characteristics. And then we have their explanation as well. Characteristics and their explanation. So that is where we are. It says one of the first characteristics of an entrepreneur is to take risk. As they're saying, they are able to take risk and do not rely on others to tell them what to do. They know in order for them to succeed, they have to take risks. However, they do not take unnecessary or unwise risk. Meaning to say, they take what? Moderate risk. They don't go for risk that they know very well that this have got high chances of failing. So they take what? The moderate risk. So also they say they do know, they do the necessary research to ensure the risk they take have reasonable chance of being successful. That is that. Meaning to say they take calculated risk. Entrepreneurs takes what? Calculated risk. They take calculated risk. Calculated risk. They take calculated risk. So that is that. Also, it is ambition to achieve. Ambition to achieve. As it says, ambition is a strong desire to do or achieve something. Entrepreneurs have vision, goals that always drive them to achieve success. So we need to say they have strong desire to succeed. They have strong desire to succeed. They have strong desire to succeed. You're talking about what? Entrepreneurships. They have strong desire to succeed. For example, they can expand from one shop to many shops because they have that ambition to achieve. Discipline now is one of the characteristics of what? Of entrepreneurship. They say entrepreneurs focus on making their business to work and are not distracted by anything in order to achieve their goals. So discipline, they stay focused and organized. They, they stay focused and organized. Entrepreneurs, they stay focused and organized. For example, they follow a daily work schedule. That is how they are organized. That is how they are organized and they are focusing. Also, one of the characteristics of entrepreneurs is that optimistic, confident, and they remain calm. They remain calm. So good entrepreneurs will remain positive, calm in any emergency. They believe in themselves and are confident. Keeping calm may not solve their problem immediately, but will make it easier to solve. They need to cope with failure without getting frustrated or angry. That is the entrepreneur. These are the entrepreneurs who are very optimistic, who are very confident, who always remain calm. That's when you talk of what? Entrepreneurs. So that is that they stay positive and believes in success. They stay positive. They stay positive and believes in success. For example, they find solutions when sales are low. That is that. Also, you can talk about passion. As they are saying, entrepreneurs enjoy what they are doing, do not mind spending their hours needed to ensure successful business. So they have that passion, meaning to say, loves what they do. Entrepreneurs loves what they do. That's what it means. They loves what they do. That is that with people. They enjoy running a cake business. That's what they love. So that is that, for example. Now also, like we've said, we talked about what? Passion. Um, so this is what we already talked about, that the entrepreneurs enjoy what they are doing and do not mind spending hours needed to ensure successful business. We already talked about. Persistent now. Persistent. As they say, entrepreneurs never give up, no matter how tough a task is. They have that perseverance and drive. Entrepreneurs never gives up. Never gives up. That's what they are. They never gives up. They make tries again after failure. They make tries again after failure. Decision making. Entrepreneurs are able to make quick decisions in order to make the most of opportunities that arise. So they make quick and good decisions. Make quick and as well as good decisions. They make quick and good decisions, the entrepreneurs. So that is that. Competitive. Entrepreneurs strive on competition and are not afraid of it. They compete against themselves in order to be better and improve all time. So here we're talking about competitive. They want to improve and succeed. They want to improve and succeed. That is what I say. They strive on competition, are not afraid of it. So that is that. So now let us move on, good people. Now we are on the skills of an entrepreneur. Skills of an entrepreneur. So, as it says, what are the skills? What are the skills? Okay, we are on the skills of entrepreneur. So here it says name few characteristics of an entrepreneur. So we did talk about characteristics of entrepreneur. Remember that is risk taking. These are this is risk taking, the ones that we have just talked about. So it's just to test ourselves that we have understood that we have understood the characteristics of entrepreneurs. Risk taking, remember ambition to achieve. Also, we can talk about discipline. There's so many. You can talk about passion. Talk about passion. You can talk about decision making. So that is that. So, but right now we are on the skills of entrepreneur. So this is where we are. As it says, explain the following to learners. Entrepreneurs need to have certain skills in order to be successful in starting a business. That is that. So skills, as we know, skills are activities or abilities that a person can do well. So skills can be learned through observation, training, and experience. That is that. So, as it says, entrepreneurs need to have certain skills in order to be successful in starting a business. So that is that. Also, it says define the term skills. Then it says is the activity you can do well. Skills can be learned through observation, through training, through experience. That is that. For example, learning how to bake cakes by watching others. So if you learn how to bake cakes by watching others, that's an observation that you're talking about. Attending baking classes, that is through training. And practicing regularly, that is through experience. So that's what we mean. So also we talk of what? The skills of an entrepreneur. So that is that. Now let us move on. So as it says, the skills of entrepreneur, the first one we talk about, entrepreneur are good organizers. Entrepreneurs are good organizers. So it says an important skill in entrepreneur is the ability to organize things. An important skill of entrepreneur is ability to organize things. So to organize means arranging. Organize means arranging things in a way that makes work easier and more efficient. That is that. Ability to organize things. So I'm saying to organize means you are arranging things in a way that makes work easier. That is a skill and more efficient. For example, a shop owner keeps stock neatly arranged so that products can be found quickly. So that the products can be found quickly. So that is that. Also, it says organize is to do things in such a way that make your life easier. Like like we have said, Like we've said that when you organize, that is when you make life easier for you, so that even the customers that are not going to struggle to find your things. Ask the learners the following questions. Are you organizing your time so that you finish your homework at time? Is your room tidy? So that is that. For you to do your homework, you have to make sure that you are going to organize your time very, very well, that so that you can complete your homework. Also, for you to say you're organized, that is when your room is very, very tidy, very clean. That is that. So here are some guidelines to help you organize things. As it says, plan. Think ahead what needs to be done today or next week or next month. So think ahead about what needs to be done today, next week, or next month. For example, a business owner plans to, let's say a business owner plans stock purchases before products run out. That is a plan. You plan or you think ahead. Before you can run out of stock, you do what? You you plan the stock purchase before it can finished. So that is that. Also, it says prioritize. List the things that is more important than other things and do the important things first. So that is the prioritizing. Meaning to say, do the most important task first. That is that. Do the most important task first. That's that. Completing your customer orders before rearranging the shop. What is that? You can do your rearranging of the shop because we are there. But what is the most important thing? Is to complete a customer orders, because they are the ones that should that must come first. So that is that. Also, it talks about good working habits. Work every day. Work every day. Work consistently every day. Work consistently every day. Work consistently every day. That's that. For example, a baker prepares fresh bread every morning. Concentrate at only one thing at a time. So focus on one task before moving to another. Focus on one task before moving moving to another. So that is that. For example, finishing customer invoices before checking emails. That is what we're saying. Concentrate on only one thing at a time. Have a place for everything and put everything in its place. Keep items in their proper places. Keep items in their proper places. In their proper places. So that is that. Keeping business documents in a labeled files. That's when you can say you are organized. Can you add some things to make your life easier? So that is that. Other ways to make life easier. That is when you can make use of diary or planner, can create daily to-do lists, set deadlines for tasks. That is that. For example, using a calendar to remember important meetings and deliveries. Those are other things that you can make your life easier. So let us move on to another thing. So now we are on entrepreneur plan their business. Entrepreneur plan their business. So it says before starting a business, an entrepreneur must plan very carefully and make good decisions about the product. About what? The product. Decide what goods or service will be sold. That is that. Decides what goods and service will be sold. Decides what goods and services will be sold. That is that. For example, that's when you choose to sell handmade candles. That is that you decide what goods or service will be sold. Who to sell the products to? That is identify the target customers. Identify the target customers. The target customers. So that's that. So, for example, you are selling school stationery mainly to learners. That is your target customers. Where to locate the business? Where to locate the business? Choose a suitable place to operate. Choose suitable place to operate. So that is that. Choose the suitable place to operate. Opening a drug shop near a school. So that is that. Opening a tech shop, sorry. Opening a tech shop near a school. That is a suitable place to locate your business. The cost of starting the business. The cost of starting a business also you must take into consideration. The cost of starting a business. Calculate how much money is needed. Calculate how much money is needed. That is that. Calculate how much money is needed. Now, how to get money to start a business. So this is where you decide where the startup money will come from. This is where you decide where the startup money, you decide where the startup money will come from. Decide where the startup money will come from. That is that. Using a personal savings or applying for loan. So that is that. So time spending on planning is never wasted. Time spending on planning is never wasted. So that is that. Time spending on planning is never wasted. Why planning is important? Time spent planning is never wasted because it helps avoid mistakes as well as reduces losses. For example, a business owner researches customer demand before buying large amounts of stock. That is that. If an entrepreneur does not plan well, there is a less chance that he or she will be successful. So, meaning to say consequences of poor planning. Without proper planning, a business has lower chance of success. That is why we're saying there is a less chance that there is a less chance, not change. There is a less chance that he or she will be successful. So that is that. Like, for example, opening a shop in an area with very few customers may lead to poor sales. That is what this point means. So now let us be on entrepreneurs are risk takers. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. So that is that. As it says, entrepreneurs are risk takers. It is a risk to start a business. It is a risk to start a business. But first, we can say, what is a risk? What is a risk? That is a very important question that we can ask ourselves. A risk is the chance that something may go wrong and that you may lose money. Let's write it here. We are saying a risk is the chance, that something may go wrong. May go wrong, or that you may lose money, or that you may lose money. That's when I'm talking about a risk. For example, spending money to start a business without knowing if customers will buy the product. That is that. So that's that. So it says it is the risk. Entrepreneurial risk takers is that it is a risk to start what? A business. Why is starting a business is a risk? Entrepreneurs may lose money, like we have said. They may lose money if the business fails, but they can also make out a lot of profit if it succeeds. So hope you understand. For example, a person spends 10,000 to start a car wash business. If customers use the service, the business make profit. If not, the money may be lost. That 10,000 may be lost. Hope you understand. Also, it says a risk is a, a, a chance. It's a chance you're taking. It's a chance you are taking. It's a chance that you are taking, not a change. So that is that. That's a chance that you are taking. That is a risk. An entrepreneur run the risk of losing money, but also stand a chance of making lots of money. So you can risk, or if you succeeded, it means you're going to make a lot of money. But if you fail, there are no customers who are buying your product, it means you're going to lose your money. Good planning will help entrepreneur to minimize the risk of losing money. So that is that. Thank you very much for your time, good people. Let us go through these notes as they are very, very helpful. Thank you.